I found were kind of interesting. One, they called me a radical social progressive, and I'm going to have to admit, I do in fact want everyone to possess human rights. I know that comes as a shock to some of you, but I do in fact want that.
No, say it ain't so. Seriously, why would this come to a shock to anyone? Seriously.
And the second, they threw up a trans straw man, a trans boogeyman, if you will. And
Oh, those blackguards. They threw up a trans strawman. I want to hear what this terrible trans strawman is. Please tell us what it
that
is.
was the concept that radical social progressives want to take 10-year-olds, force them into hormone therapy, and make them trans.
Well, it's at this point, usually the anti SJW say, oh, gosh, are you sure you want to take that position? You still have a chance to change your mind. And of course, we all know that we've edited the video. We know he's going to say next. This one's so clever, he's figured me out already.
That's a particularly warped narrative.
You know what, there, I'm going to have to agree with you. It is a particularly warped narrative, the concept of parents giving hormones and therapy to 10-year-olds.
It's another straw man, a boogeyman. It doesn't exist. It never has existed. It never will exist. Even if someone were desiring to be on hormone therapy, that doesn't kick in until you're in puberty.
If it doesn't exist, then why do major media outlets like CBS have articles like titled Sex Change Treatment for Kids on the Rise? It starts out saying, and a link to this will be below, Chicago, a small but growing number of teens and even younger children who think they were born the wrong sex are getting support from parents and from doctors who give them sex-changing treatments, according to reports in the medical journal Pediatrics. And that's not some anti-SJW or anti-feminist or whatever transphobe on YouTube. This is a news article.
Now, what I find fascinating about this is that progressivism would like everyone to possess civil liberties and human rights, and would like trans people to have the capacity to express their gender identity as they choose.
Progressivism. Okay, well, most of us ism wants everyone to possess equal rights. The CBS article continues, and it says it's an issue that raises ethical questions, and some experts urge caution in treating children with puberty-blocking drugs and hormones. An 8-year-old second grader in Los Angeles is a typical patient. Born a girl, the child announced at 18 months, "I a boy," and has stuck with that belief. The family was shocked, but now refers to the child as a boy and is watching for the first signs of puberty to begin treatment, his mother told the Associated Press.
That's it. We want everyone to be able to express their gender identity as they want. Now, I'm cisgender. And for the longest time, a lot of people thought of cisgender as the default. I've thought anyone that falls outside the cisgender category.
Since you people delight in creating labels and categories for people, cisgen, air quotes, would be the default, since the majority of people are.
Was weird or warped or strange. But I'm using cisgender specifically because I'm trying to explain that cisgender and transgender are just two different ways of looking at gender identity.
And it's also identity politics and labeling people, which many believe do not help with equality, pointing out our differences instead of our similarities.
That's it. That's all. And progressives want everyone to be able to express their gender identity as they desire. Now, in my case, I came into the world, I was assigned the gender identity of a man, and it fits me. I'm comfortable with it.
And it fits you for a reason, because you were born with a penis and not a uterus.
I got no problem with it. But here's the thing. I also don't have a problem with the fact that someone else who had been assigned a man at birth may decide somewhere during their life they would like to be agender, or they want to be pangender, or they want to be transgender and move into identity of a trans woman.
It's funny that the SJWs use words like assign, and of course, when you're born, they look at the baby and see if it has a penis or a vagina, and they assign a sex, but it's not like they have a choice. Let me see. It kind of looks like, yeah, we're going to give it this. No, it's either a penis or a vagina. A man born with a penis will never give birth to a child. So that person was assigned the sex of man. Now, of course, if you want to change your mind, you can be anything you want to be. You can even be an otherkin. And it's a free world. As long as you're not harming anyone else, go for it. Be a fish cat man, chimera thing.
What do I care? It has no adverse effect on my life. And here's the second thing that really came to my mind when I started thinking about that narrative of, you're trying to force this. No, we're not trying to force it. We just want people to have the right to express their gender identity as they desire. Okay? What underlies this social conservative narrative is fear, particularly fear of trans women. Because the idea that your gender is not coded into your DNA, that your gender is a social construct.
See, now I think you're getting off track because you're saying social conservatives fear trans women or whatever, and that very well may be the case. But the straw man was supposed to be that young children aren't given hormone therapy to change their gender. The CBS article goes on to say offering sex-changing treatment to kids younger than 18 raises ethical concerns, and their parents' motive need to be closely examined, said Dr. Margaret Moon, a member of the American Academy of Pediatrics Bioethics Committee. She was not involved in any of the reports. And the article goes on to say, it's harmful to have an irreversible treatment too early, Moon said. And then, of course, the next sentence is, doctors who provide the treatment say withholding it would be more harmful. And these are children they're talking about.
That it is something that can be edited, altered. That your perspective on your gender can change is deeply unsettling to some men. Terrifying to them. Because the implication is that they themselves could possess feminine characteristics, and they are terrified of that. Because our toxic masculinity and the patriarchy has conditioned most people to view the feminine as negative.
Well, I don't know about most people, but there are parts of the world, and there are countries, where a woman's worth is legally less than a man. And these are the areas that we need help for women, and that's where there is an established patriarchy. It's part of their culture, it's part of their religion, and you need to look into that. Here in the West, in the United States and most of Europe, people are equal. People, no matter what you look like, how you were born. There is economic inequality. We do have that, but it's completely divorced from how you were born. Anyone, no matter how they're born, can make it in the West. It may be harder for those of us that were born with very little or nothing, but we have that opportunity. But there are, once again, there are parts of the world where half of the population will never be equal to the other half. And that is women not as equal to men in Islam, according to Sharia law.
Femininity equals negativity in their minds. So the idea that someone that was assigned the gender identity of a man could make a decision that they no longer want to possess that identity, or they want to expand on that identity to include other things, or in case of an agender person, to include no gender identity of any kind, is deeply unsettling.
You know what I find unsettling is the report details 97 girls and boys treated between 1998 and 2010. The youngest was 4 years old. Kids that young and their families get psychological counseling and are monitored until the first signs of puberty emerge, usually around age 11 or 12. Then children are given puberty blocking drugs and monthly blah 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 and costs. I don't want to go over that. What I would like to discuss is what parents should know about giving hormones to trans kids. especially at an early age. Hormones have irreversible effects. Cross-gender hormones are another matter. Taking cross-gender hormones is the first step in medical transitioning. As a transgender adult who has a trans kid, I know transitioning has consequences. I know that adults can't fully anticipate the long-term effects, much less little kids. It's a case of short-term gain with long-term pain. That's reality.
The idea that another person could be expressing themselves the way they desire is seen as threatening to the toxically masculine man.
The toxically masculine man. When you're talking about a man, you're talking about an adult. Watch this.
So this video is interesting. Riley here is going to tell us why children who are not developed, who aren't even human beings yet, who have no consent, why they could be transgender. Let's hear this.
Talking about transgender issues among adults is one thing, but what happens when a child is trans? There have been plenty of stories in the media.
We wait till they grow up so they can make an informed decision. What if a 2-year-old goes, I'm a girl?
And here is an adult that's teaching trans issue to an audience that's so young, she needs stuffed bears and blocks to teach it to them.
Welcome to the final part of our 4-part series breaking down the letters in LGBT. You ready, Teddy?
Ready.
Okay. Today we are talking about the 4th letter, T. T stands for trans or transgender.
Ooh, that's a cool new word.
Definitely, Teddy. Let's get into it. Do you have any siblings, Teddy?
Yes, I have a little baby bear brother.
And I have a little sister. Do you remember when your little baby bear brother was born?
Yeah.
Well, do you remember the very first thing you learned about the new baby bear in your life?
That he cried a lot?
No, Teddy. You probably learned that your little baby bear brother was your little baby bear brother. That your new sibling was a boy.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely it.
That's the very first thing doctors tell you when a new baby is born, whether they're human or bear. They tell parents that their baby is a boy or a girl. That's called a gender assignment, when doctors announce that babies are boys and girls.
But now I'm confused. When we talked about gender, we said that there aren't just boys and girls.
You have a really great memory, Teddy. You're right. There's something a bit weird about how doctors assign gender to babies.
Now that last bit I find more than a little unsettling. If you want to say that that's some straw man that some transphobe YouTuber created, no, I don't think so.
The very existence of a trans woman is seen as a threat, which is why violence against trans women is so incredibly high, particularly violence against Black trans women.
No, I don't know if you're right or wrong about that, but do you have any crime statistics to back that up? Or are you just saying it sounds like it's happening because they're some part of a victim class?
It's horrible. And of course, all these absurd bathroom bills put trans people at risk.
It's horrible. I don't want to see any one person anywhere in the world at risk for anything. Everybody deserves to live with equality with everyone else and freedom and with the ability to live their lives. I've had my say, and now I'm going to let you have your last say. I've edited out some of your stuff, otherwise this video would be half hour or more long. But you're going to have the last say. Thank you very much. No ill intention towards you. tetsubo57, just giving my point of view on the subject. You brought up strawman. I don't see a straw man as far as young, very young children who are too young to make decisions that are going to affect the rest of their lives as a straw man argument. And you can do some research online. Anyway, I've said enough. Now it's your turn. You have the last say. But before that, thanks for watching this video. If you like the video, hit like. If you like the channel, please subscribe. Help us out. Thank you very much for watching.
Someone else's gender identity isn't a threat to you. And no one is forcing 10-year-old cisgender people into becoming trans. That is a trans boogeyman, a straw man. An argument put forth by terrified social conservatives because the world around them is simply admitting to reality that trans people have always existed and they always will exist. And I would love if we could get to a point in our society where someone's gender identity was immaterial, where every job application doesn't have, what's your gender identity? Doesn't matter. Or we get rid of Mrs. and Mrs. and we just call people by their name and we come up with something different. We could go very sci-fi and just call people citizen. But someone else's existence, someone else's gender identity, isn't a threat to you. And if you think it is, you might want to call a therapist.
There have been plenty of stories in the media about children as young as 3 years old coming out as transgender.